What's up, guys? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I want you guys to just sit down with me. We're gonna have a little conversation because this video is going to be quite interesting. I want this to come out before PAX East event, as well as the next Warframe release date for their update. I've been doing some digging. I've been going down the rabbit hole of Warframe's lore and just trying to get my brain to wrap around what is possibly the next things that we can see in Warframe, starting with the Warframe 1999 update we'll be getting this year. So I've been doing my homework, I've been learning the lore, I've been going and finding connections, and come to find out there is a lot of interesting things that Warframe is doing, and it could potentially reveal what they're planning to set up for the future. So if you like me and you're interested for what Warframe has in store for us in the future, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button, as well as the notification bell, so you're notified every time I drop a video. And yeah, if you're new to my channel, what's up? Welcome to the squad. It's a pleasure to meet you. Hopefully I can catch you on my live streams. And then if you already subscribed, thank you, and it's a pleasure to have you return back to one of my videos. I promise this one will keep you guys super interested. I have a list of a bunch of subjects that we're going to go over, starting with the Y2K relationship with the Warframe 1999. If you're unfamiliar of what that was, it was basically like a big scare that went around the world, or I don't know if it was just America, where computers were mainly just programmed to have the dates 19XX. XX is for any type of year in the 20th century. People were worried that when it hit the 21st century, our computers weren't going to be programmed to, register that year, which can cause mass shutdowns and a lot of problems. They thought that the change was going to bring down computer systems and banking and power plants. So these were during the earlier times of when the internet was out. A lot of the structures and the procedures of how our internet was probably functioning back then was very more fragile. So the computers that Arthur interfaces showed December 31st 1999 at 11:55 p.m. After meeting with Dr. Entrati, the clock behind him can be seen turning from 11:59 to 12, where you can hear in the background saying Happy New Year, which was a funny fact. They recorded a lot of people in the crowd, me and my girlfriend included, to scream out Happy New Year when they did that. But I think they were trying to reference like that panic, and then maybe the infected in the 1999 reality was probably like the personification of the Y2K virus. We have this Y2K relation going on. So when I first seen that, I was like, all right, obviously there's could be some crazy connections in just the year 1999 in general. With this new type of virus, they are talking about strains and stuff. I thought it was the perfect setup for them to introduce infected liches. You hear Pablo bring it up. You hear Rebecca talk about it. You hear Steve bring it up during Dev Shorts. It's going to happen. At this point, they kind of like release things early in advance or give out little hints like that. I wouldn't think they would just throw that out and then just have it as headcanon for the rest of Warframe's lifespan. But infected liches is awesome because it can bring about new forms of our weapons that already exist. It's also increasing the level cap. All Tenet sister weapons, the Kuva liches, now with the infected liches, all of those weapons are able to be forma up to level 40. So it is a cool thing to see the Warframe's level cap being increased over time. But the new infected could bring the new weapons. It could bring new ephemeras, because that's what we had in the past. I don't know if it was just special because it was the Tenet sisters, but they gave us pet dogs. So we had 3 things that we can farm from the Tenet faction, 2 things from the Kuva faction. So I don't know if they're going to increase the number, maybe 4 things with the infected faction, or they're just going to keep it simple with just ephemeras and weapons, or maybe they might throw in a bonus item in there for us. But that's what we can expect with the new infected liches. The next thing I wanted to bring about is eternalism. I brought this up in my Warframe lore video. If you guys have not checked it out, I would highly recommend you guys watching that. If you guys do like Warframe lore, as well as if you're confused about the story and how these updates kind of fit into the storyline, the important ones, I have that laid out, as well as access to the timeline so you guys can follow up with it. In that video, I was talking about a cutscene that you get to experience during the new war quest. You get to see through the POV of when you were in the Zeraman ship watching the class. And in that class, the teacher was teaching about the theories of presentism, futurism, which those led to the theory of eternalism, allowing void travel and all that stuff. Eternalism was a concept to explain possible realities. I was going to say multiverses, but yeah, just possible realities. If you want to look at the reality of Warframe, imagine a rope. If you zoom in on a rope, there's a bunch of threads. Each one of those threads could be a reality of Warframe or sister realities to Warframe. And I felt like during that video they were trying to explain that. They showed a picture of a cube. This cube is also detectable in Albert Entrati's lab, but this 6-sided cube, it can represent 6 point of view. The way that they had the cube was that the drawings around it kind of annotated that the cube was going forward through time. And if you have 6 different sides of cube, you have 6 different perspectives going forward through times, which can insinuate that they were trying to explain how multiverse behaves in the Warframe world. If you have this concept of the game bringing about multiple realities, it makes perfect sense of how we're now diving into this Warframe 1999. And then on top of that, when you're playing that update, you get to see DE's other projects of their previous game titles on the wall post, like as posters on the wall in the game. And each one of these games are very slightly similar to Warframe, if not exactly. Like they all deal with some type of infected strain, you know, some person having the strain which allows their abilities to prevail. But I'll dive more into DE's other games and how it ties in with this new update. But just in mind, just keep that Warframe is on this multiverse type of game concept now. Like that's where the story is heading. But I know multiverse is a washed out concept. You know, we have Spider-Man doing it, we have Omni-Man doing it, or Invincible, my bad. But there's a concept with this game that it's awesome, and I'll show you how it all wraps around and connects in the end. Going on to my next subject is alchemy. It wasn't as prevalent when you first start Warframe, but I would say once you get to Deimos, you start to see some connections with alchemy. The first being Lavos, being the Warframe you can farm there from Father, I believe. So Lavos is all about alchemy. Alchemy is represented in Albert's lab. When you unlock the Whispers in the Walls update, you can see a lot of alchemic symbols like just scribbled all over the wall. Alchemic symbols devised as parts of alchemy were used to denote some elements and some compounds until the 18th century. Oh, okay, so they're just showing you the common symbols like air, earth, fire, and water. But according to Paracelsus, there are 3 components in which a material substance is formed. 1 being sulfur or the soul, the 2 being mercury or the spirit, and 3 is salt or the body. Now this is crazy because if you guys are anime nerds like I am, you can definitely just smell Full Metal Alchemist from that, right? Now just keep that in mind. The creator of, I wouldn't say the creator, notorious alchemist in history in real life was Paracelsus. You know that the Paracelsus was derived from this alchemist. So you already can see Warframe starting to dip their hands in the alchemic era of their Warframe storyline. If you go throughout the lab, you can see a lot of scribbles, in which I actually was doing research, and there's people on Reddit that is deciphering these alchemic symbols. A lot of weird words that don't quite make sense, but they do. If you go down, you can see hackers, and that probably could be related to the Y2K thing. Right here you have a list of possible train times. So I think they pulled this and try to decipher it to explain train times when they arrive and stuff. This language is referenced. This isn't the alchemic symbols, by the way. This is just Warframe symbol, like Warframe language, I guess. The alchemic symbols that I've seen in Albert's lab are like these. These symbols are, look, you have fire, which was one of the, you know, basic symbols or common symbols used amongst alchemists. You have sulfur, which is probably like one of the main components for life. You have copper, vinegar, phosphorus, Bro, this is legit. You look, water, lead, silver. This sounds like freaking one of the Eldrick brothers trying to explain to his brother how they can bring back their mom. Then you have like this type of circle. Look, I don't know if it's representing day and night. These could be a lot of elements and aspects of life that didn't exist in Warframe's reality but exist in the alternate reality. We have the transmute circle that shows like a bunch of substances that might correlate to each other, which can explain how Albert was able to hop into a whole nother reality. So there's a lot of these scribbles on this, and most importantly, when you get to the back of Albert's lab, when you do the Netracells missions, it gets more into detail about probably what he's trying to do. And you see scribbles about a Warframe suit showing Excalibur with no head. You see one with Mag with no head, as well as a bunch of scribbles that say they equal 1999. With some more digging, I learned that there's whispers in the walls, like there's just whispering. I think they were saying that Albert knew that people were going to be infected, or that people were already infected with some type of virus in this reality, and he wanted to bring back the strain that he had in this reality to those to help them turn into Warframes without the head part, because it seems like that head part would be the hard part, since making Warframes combine a virus and a human host. Sometimes they take over the human host and it gets out of control. Maybe with having no headpiece, it can help with the stability of human x Warframe collaboration, if you know what I'm trying to say, like enhancing it, because there's no confliction between the host of the human against the host of the virus. I know Tennos were a master with that because they were void children, allowing them to harness the power. I also mentioned in my Warframe lore video that Tennos potentially could have the power to just take away pain, allowing them to take over Warframes, and that's why they're not being conflicted with that control problem. But going back to the writings on the wall, so those could be potentially showing either we're going to get like a Cal's Garrison type of mission where we get to periodically play as another form of a character in a different type of play style, like how when we get to play as Cal, or maybe during the New War, how we got to switch between different perspectives of Teshin. Or this can be another form of Warframe people or characters that we can farm, just like how we can farm Prime Warframes and regular Warframes. Is this going to be an alternate reality Warframe that we can farm that might only be usable in this reality, or it might be only usable in certain parts of the game? But I feel like they are cooking up some type of new suit that we can expect to farm for. On top of that, if it's just lore related, then I do sense a new mode. But when I seen someone say that the whispering in the walls was describing how Albert wanted to bring back the Himless strain to a reality where he knew people were infected already, makes perfect sense when you see DE's other games on the wall. Yeah. So it says that they were advertising DE's other games on the posters as shows or movies or something like that. The games that DE has made, it was Dark Sector, and then I think it was maybe Solar Winds or maybe something else. But the thing is that the storyline was identical to Warframe, where there was a virus on Earth. There was some type of evil scientist wanting to create a utopian society, and the virus went out of control. And then the person that can control the virus or has the virus in them, awakening some type of dormant abilities, would fight back. This makes awesome sense if you think about Albert's plan on possibly bringing a Himless strain to these realities to create Warframe suits. He did also predict that the Warframes in this reality would turn on him eventually, which could explain why Mag and our character Arthur was looking for him when we did hop into that timeline. You can hear Mag's sound effects, so for sure Mag is also a Warframe suit in 1999. With Arthur. But if you hear the story and the POVs of the characters in the other games, I feel like they can have it to where we go into those realities and possibly give those characters the strain so that they can perfect their Warframe suit But that's completely just theories. But they do feel like Albert is bringing back the Himmler strain to another reality to either progress his motives. This is where it starts getting crazier. Like, not confusing crazy, just crazy as in where things started connecting. When I mentioned earlier about the processes, which is the weapon that Ballast gave us to slay the sentients, it's similar to the name of Paracelsus, which is one of the famous alchemies in history. His real name was Theophrastus von Hohenheim. The full name was Philippus Aerolus Theophrastus Bombastus von Hohenheim. And the crazy thing about this is that the man in the wall led us to, through Fograça to find Ballast, aka possibly, like, he was possibly pulling the strings this whole time. And Ballast, out of the blue, just like formulated this great idea to carve this weapon, right? So in my head, I'm thinking, what if the man in the wall grabbed the creation of the Pharisees from another reality so that we can craft it in our timeline, right? That's where Ballast, because Ballast just came out with the blueprint on the spot. It's not like it was an ancient weapon that existed before. He just created it then and there. It gave us the blueprints on how to create something like that. So I'm insinuating that the man in the wall gave Ballast that type of knowledge to help us with that. Even in the description of Theophrastus, it said that paintings would show him standing with a sword, and in the helm of the sword, or there was an amulet at the handle that held the Philosopher's Stone, and this allowed his sword to cut through any type of material, any substance, which is a cool reference to what the processes can do, right? We use that weapon to slay sentients. Sentients are an ever-changing, adaptable creature that is created to adapt to different things. That's why if you keep using fire damage on it, it's going to be nullified eventually. Ice damage, nullified. It adapts to whatever you're trying to do, except this sword, which could like greatly represent the powers of the Philosopher's Stone sword held by this real life alchemist. Moving forward, I explained to you guys his name. In his name you have Bombastus, right? Bombastus could be, this part of his personality could be reflected in Bombastine in the very paradox. The creator of the very paradox, and I hope I'm not losing you, was the daughter of Albert and Trotty. This book, this story, was in the minds of a lot of kids. So when the Zariman ship went through the void, that book was there, which probably explained the creation of the De Very paradox, because the void can personify our imaginations. It can bring to life just creation from dust. So it makes perfect sense how Bombastine could be reflected. Some type of alchemist symbol is reflected in his daughter's story. So we don't know too much about Bombastine, but we're going to keep a close eye, because I don't think the very paradox is over for it. Going back to the names that is in his full name, at the end of it, von Hohenheim, bruh. Who do you know is named Hohenheim, bro? The main scientist, alchemist, villain / protagonist, antagonist of Full Metal Alchemist, bro. And when I seen this, it started making sense. The creature that Full Metal Alchemist dad encountered is similar to the man in the wall. And then on top of that dad found an alternate reality where alchemy didn't exist, but they had futuristic progressions. They had Zeppelins, they had blimps, they had rifles, we had guns too, but they had like cars, and they had cars too. It just seemed like their society was more technologically advanced, but they lacked alchemy. And on their reality, they had magic and alchemy, but they lacked the technological side of it. And it just made perfect sense of how Warframe 1999 could represent what Full Metal Alchemist was showing us, right? You seen the transmutation circles, you seen the sulfur, you seen all of these things that probably explain how the Full Metal Alchemist dad figured out how to breach into another reality, right? A lot of aspects deriving from this show that can help me explain what I'm looking at in Warframe, and I hope you guys are seeing these similarities as well. Now, since we're talking about Full Metal Alchemist, what was the main thing about that show? The homunculus, right? The creation of the homunculus, the creation of some AI created organism that should be the perfect being type shit. If you look at the concept of the homunculus in Full Metal Alchemist and you bring that concept over to Warframe, what represents those things? A Warframe, an AI organism that's supposed to be the perfect being, sentience, perfect being. Oricans, what do they strive to be? So you can see a lot of these similarities, a lot of these similar motives or ideologies that are being represented throughout the Orican mindset, as well as what happened in Full Metal Alchemist. Just the thought of creating a homunculus is reflected in both of these games and animes. In Warframe 1999, I just have a stronger, because of these similarities, it's like helping me try to understand what direction Warframe is going with this story. They can do a complete 180 the instant this update comes out, right? A complete 180. So I'm like, this is only fun because we're theorizing, we're seeing these connections. You know, they have the control over the lore, so they can do whatever they want. But they cannot deny these connections. They cannot deny these similarities. On top of that, we're getting an update before Warframe 1999 called Dante's Unbound. I was telling my girlfriend they better not drop this update on a specific day, and that specific day was March 26th. Now, they didn't drop it on March 26th, but they're dropping it on March 27th, which can technically be March 26th in certain aspects of like time zone, different time zones. But March 27th is legit the day after the Melissa virus in March. On March 26th, it began spreading like wildfire across the internet. It was named by Smith for a stripper in 4-letter. Oh, it then used a macro to hijack their Microsoft Outlook email to send messages to the first 50. Well, yeah, it was just saying the Melissa virus was an incident that happened that was spread. They were looking at this Melissa virus attack as like a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, it did harm and do damage, and probably broke the trust of our consumers, but it did help us create a more stronger defense system against stuff like that. So if you look at that as an analogy to Warframe, it's like they did get hit with a virus. They did get hit with probably man in the wall intervention, but they are coming back. You know, they are creating these Warframe suits. They are creating. So March 27th, we have Dante's Unbound, which probably brings about the update of the bookkeeper in Albert's lab, Dante. Who knows if he was also writing scribbles on those walls, but the cool thing about it is that Dante is a storyteller. His whole abilities rotate around storytelling. Albert and Trotter Dottie. Wait, what? What is Albert and Trotty's daughter doing? She made the very paradox. She made a story. What does Albert and Trotty's wife? What does she do? She created a story. She talked about I don't even think it was created, but she talked about the Night of Nabarus. I personally feel like they can use the void to bring the Night of Nabarus creatures to life. If you don't know about that story, it was about 3 Oricans who wanted to prank people during Halloween or some type of festival. They didn't think their costumes were scary enough, so they wanted to show them a scary costume. So they went down to Cetus, kidnapped, three orphan kids, and just mutilated their bodies. And then they used the transference to go into those bodies. They'll go around the village scaring people. People thought they were costumes, but they did not know that they were actually like killed orphans. But then there was one orphan child who did see the Orcan do this, and she followed them back up to their base, and she poured the blue kula, which kept their bodies permanent. And when they did that, it also brought about the pain that they also felt, so it kept them in those bodies forever. And people would say that, oh, during the Night of Nabarus, if you hear howling in the night, it's those 3 Orcan people crying from their pain and regret, rage. But they could bring those things to reality. If you got the wife storytelling, you got the daughter storytelling, now you got this Warframe storytelling. I don't know why, but everybody in his family is telling stories. There got to be something. I mentioned multiverse theory, right? With the cube, the theory of eternalism, the theory of alternate realities. This can also bring about the possibility of other Umbras being created or existing. And this is bridging into my next conversation. Umbra Warframes can exist, other Umbra Warframes. I know Umbra was the name of the Dax soldier that found out Ballas was planning on tricking everybody, and then when they put him into an Excalibur suit, they called him Umbra Excalibur. This Warframe was, I think, one of Ballas's first successful Warframe creations, probably his only one, but I think they did mention that there were others. This was possible because, how I told you, when they did try to make Warframes in the past, it was failures because they were uncontrollable due to the host being connected to the virus strain. But I think when this Umbra incident occurred, he kind of like traumatized the victim. Then he simplified the victim's mindset to only having one memory, and that memory was him killing his own child. And so the victim would always have this desire to protect his child, which was a strong enough fight to maintain consciousness combined with the virus host, which allowed Umbra Excalibur to be one of his first successful Warframes. Also a Warframe that can move on its own, you know, disregarding organ control. But it also, he kicked us out when we tried to use transference to be inside Umbra. He kicked us out. But who's to say that in another reality with the theory of eternalism, Ballas could put Umbra into a Frost, or Ballas can put Umbra into an Ember or a Nyx or anything, right? He just happened to have Excalibur be that Warframe. Another thing is that I know players are also sensitive about value to still exist, right? The Excalibur Prime value that can still exist no matter what, because no matter what, no other players can still get Excalibur, was it Umbra Excalibur Prime? I forgot how they word it, but for me, I only have Umbra Excalibur. A bunch of other players only have Umbra Excalibur. So if you bought that Founders Pack, you would still be the only players with Umbra Excalibur Prime. So even if they were to make other Umbra Warframes like Umbra Frost or Umbra Nyx, they would all still be separate from the exclusivity of Excalibur Prime. Because yeah, we can get Frost, yeah, we can get Umbra Nyx Prime, but no one would ever have Umbra Excalibur Prime. They'd have nothing to worry about because people still can't get him. So you'll be good. If they're tripping because there's going to be multiple Umbra Warframes and they always want one Umbra Warframe, I mean, everybody has Umbra Excalibur, so it's like, what's going to be the difference, you know? You can't even tell sometimes if someone's using a Prime Warframe compared to a regular Warframe, just because I feel like mods matter more. Coming back to the focus, my next subject was the Tau system. The Tau system is also a possible future update that we can get in Warframe because they do mention it a lot. Ballas was trying to use Fagrasa to eat the sun, to have enough power to warp to the Tau system. There's lore that explains how the Tennos and Octavia's anthem could help create a portal to the Tau system. Even when we were fighting Ballas, right? We were fighting him on Fagrasa. That void portal, I feel like, was opened from Fagrasa's power. I think because, you know, we were trying to stop him from warp jumping to Tau. So I feel like that portal was being opened in preparation for him to do that. So we have there's a lot of ways for us to get to the Tau system. We have Yanta on the one of the Archimedeans on the Zeraman ship, also saying that if she had another chance, she can take us back there. She can get us there. So I definitely feel like that is also on the books for Warframe's future updates. So yeah, we had the launch of the Chandra X-ray Observatory. This happened in 1999, and it was the 95th launch of the space shuttle. The whole purpose of that satellite was to observe and map out the universe. So it's funny how that type of motive existed in 1999, and how if you look at Albert's connection, or just the Orcans motive, how they wanted to just reach for the stars, you know. I feel like it was a cool type of Easter egg to also throw in there, how in our reality we also were trying to do the same thing. Maybe that's how we found the man in the wall. So there's a lot of cool things that are being shown in this update. There's a lot of cool things that are being discovered, and I'm sure when Dante's Unbound comes out, there's even more secrets and mysteries to be uncovered. I will be definitely live streaming these, and I would upload a video just like this one, accumulating all of that we know to help us make sense of what's coming to Warframe. But if you look at Arthur, even the terminologies, I think Warframe does go heavy with lore and how they connect things with realistic lore. You have Arthur, which is like one of the main knights, the chosen swordsman. You know, Arthur, I think Arthur's last name was Pendragon, and that's actually one of the names for the helmet of Excalibur. So I think, yeah, Arthur wielded a blade called Excalibur. And so you can see like a lot of connections that they are doing, you know, and it's just full and interesting, as well as when things like this starts to make the story make sense, as well as probably give us a little hindsight of what they could potentially bring to Warframe. So in general, all of this was mostly, I would say most of it was facts, right? There was headcanon and a lot of speculations on what we could possibly get in the future. You know, if infected leeches are going to become a thing, who's to say that sentient leeches are not next? Things like that. It's like, if you wanted to just skip all of it and just have a summary of what this whole video was trying to say, basically, we're getting new infected leeches. The next Warframe 1999 update could possibly introduce us going to alternate realities, or just utilizing an alternate reality Warframe suit, which we can possibly farm for, or maybe farm other variants for. As well as alchemy seems to be a big factor in how Albert and Trotty did go into another reality, or you know, timeline. Yeah, another reality. There was a phone that he had, right, like a pager or something, that I don't know if someone was texting him. To me, I feel like it was Albert's other self, right? Because I feel like you can only transfer into other realities if yourself existed into that. I think that's what he was trying to explain, and therefore he wanted to leave the man in the wall behind. So he knew the man in the wall wanted to get him, right? I can go into the details on this, but just know that the man in the wall was craving Albert and Trotty. The man in Albert and Trotty was sending test subjects into the void to see the man in the wall's motive. Those test subjects included the caviar. Funny fact is that when you get to R5 with the caviar, shout out to my boy Rack, you can actually change the colors of your caviar, which is like a cool side effect from void exposure. So that could explain why Albert looked different. A crazy thing, the only thing I can probably connect it to is how Lucy, when Lucy was using 100% of her brain, she felt everything, she felt everywhere. It seemed like she was a victim of the freaking man in the wall as well, and she was able to customize her body 100%. She can change her hair. So I got like that same type of vibe from the caviar being exposed to that, and now they have that ability. So it's like the man in the wall and just the deity of the universe and knowing everything seem to be highly connected to each other. But let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. I feel like I've been talking long enough. I hope I did not make this video already too long as it is. And on top of that, yeah, just let me know what you guys think about this Warframe X Full Metal Alchemist crossover thing that they're kind of doing. I didn't even get into here. I'll leave this here for as a reward for those who like watch throughout this whole video. This is going to be the cherry on top. Warframe seems to be connected to more than one reality, and this storyline seems to like show us that on top of the funny Easter eggs they already have in their game. They have like a Metal Gear Solid Easter egg when you fight Ballas. Not only that, the way that Lloyd and Albert and Trotty looks is like almost similar to like the facial graphics of a Metal Gear Solid game. Like when I play Metal Gear Solid 5, I felt like Lloyd could be a character. If you just change his clothes, Lloyd can be a character in that game. Even like that, just that realistic humanism of it. And then on top of that, you have like Epic Death Battle making a fight of Excalibur going against Raiden. So it's like a funny thing that they're doing with these crossovers. So who knows, what if Warframe is also somehow tied to Metal Gear Solid? What if Metal Gear Solid is a sister reality? For the most part, I just wanted this video to be about fun. I wanted this video to be about discussions and open up your guys' minds to the possibilities that Warframe could bring about in the future. Like always, thank you guys for watching my videos. Keep up the grind. Warframe is definitely going to be getting interesting in a couple of months, but if you guys always want to be updated on the news and any type of updates that they're bringing out, be sure to follow my channel as well as any other of my social platforms, just so you guys can be notified as soon as possible. But you guys be safe, you guys keep up the grind, and like always, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.